Hi everyone and welcome to my PowerPoint, my presentation. My name is Laura Gutierrez Combs for my current workplace problem. Just to provide a little bit of a background, so I work at BioLife Plasma Services in Lima, Ohio. I honestly keep forgetting that we are all can be across the US, so it's really hard for my thought process on that. But if you've ever been to a plasma donation center, you know what it entails. So CSL Plasma, Grifols, Octapharma, pretty much the same thing as BioLife. What we do, we're open to the general public. You can come in, you can donate your plasma and get compensated for it. But for the past 2 years since the start of COVID, what I've noticed is there's a lot of turnover. Especially in the last few months, there is a lot of turnover. And it's mainly for the phlebotomy area versus, we'll say, the front area, which we call the medical historian or med-hist area. They just do the finger pricks. We get a tube of blood. They check vital signs. Basically, it's to say whether or not you can donate that day. Focusing in on high turnover, the few issues that built up to this high turnover that I found was recruitment. So the hiring process. As we all know, it can take a considerable amount of time to hire, finding the right candidate, having those folks answer questions. And there are those that, can do a great job at an interview and you can still choose wrong. So I did write that down as one of them. Also, when we hire in at 32 hours a week. Now, we cannot go up to 40 straight away because just the way it looks on paper. What I mean by that is, let's say we hire in at 30 hours a week, and instead of pushing them to 40, we want to hire another body, because if you get them to 40, then that shows that we need 10 less hours per week, if that makes sense. It can be very strategic when it comes to that kind of thing, but overall, it is physically and mentally demanding, as any job can be, to those that are working, especially on the phlebotomy floor. Because if you can imagine, not only are we sticking donors, but we're also monitoring those machines. So there can only be six donors per one phlebotomist, and that's a lot. That's a lot sometimes, especially when you're brand new. So you're sticking all 6, you're watching and monitoring, making sure no alarms are going to go off, and then not only that, when they're done, if you can imagine laying there for an hour, they're ready to go. And unfortunately, we can't always be there the moment their machine goes off. So it's demanding in that aspect. Also, so donor portal, what I mean by that is that donors can schedule their appointments online. Pretty much, you're booked a time slot. But those time slots, they don't decrease based off of call-offs. And they don't decrease based off of turnover. So no matter what, there's still going to be 45 appointments per hour. And then also, new hire section placement. What I mean by that is, once a person is signed off, as far as sticking goes, they are allowed to be in a section by themselves. So if you can imagine, that's very stressful, very demanding on that one individual. Can be very overwhelming. For my brainstorming potential solution process, I did it in 3 categories. So weekly check-ins, training efficiency, and accountability. Sorry, I got a bigger screen up here so I can read it. So weekly check-ins, check in with the trainee and the trainer separately. Basically, get with the trainee on skills and the mental assessment of how they feel about themselves. And then with the trainer, evaluate if the trainee should move on. Ask for their feedback. Many times I have noticed that all trainers want sometimes is just to be heard. Their word goes a long way. They're the ones who are with the trainees. So giving them that opportunity to speak can help promote a better atmosphere, better culture throughout the workplace. The training efficiency, that is pausing training. So there can be up to 7 skills total on the floor. So pausing that, we'll say they finish the first 3. Pausing that for a week or 2, allowing them to get comfortable, can set a better mindset, and then provide center SOPs, so we follow standard operating procedures, providing that to the trainees. So we'll say they're sticking, I'll print out the SOPs and put it in a binder just to have by their side. This way they know that what they're doing is correct. Because sometimes when it comes to the procedures at my workplace, you have to follow it to the T. It's very much, you're going to do it as if I'm the auditor watching you. That's how we train. It can be very intimidating, but we just want what's best. So accountability, I put that as the training department. So the full focus on them is sending emails, communicating, and then tracking that trainee's sign-off date, just to kind of see where they're at. Maybe allowing them to have time with the trainer in their section, so being with them maybe for a couple weeks after they're signed off. With devil's advocate, what I did was, from the previous slide, I put weekly check-in, training efficiency, and accountability. I have this here, and it goes in line with these at the top. So trainee check-in, that's with weekly check-in, pause training, that's training efficiency, and then track trainee sign-off, that's accountability. So then I went ahead and put those questions on there, and these are my results. So basically what I wanted to do was focus more in, obviously, on the trainee and not so much like the training department after I came to the conclusion of this. And it was very helpful as far as asking those kinds of questions and deliberating. With weighted ranking, the weekly check-ins seem to be the best option. So if you can see here, what I did was that I went ahead and, even though it's 1, 2, 3 is here and then 4 is here, I put those on what, in my opinion, is the most valuable to the center. So promoting positive culture, in my opinion, that's number 1. I always want to promote a positive atmosphere for everybody. That's why I put that first. Supporting trainee skills, that in my opinion is second, because supporting them will help strengthen, and then it will encourage. So it's kind of like a domino effect, really, but not sliding down. It's more, up. But with that, the weekly check-in came out on top, and honestly, from my brainstorming activity with my peers, I found this to be one of the best options. Just to have more of a formal conversation, pull them in, and just talk to them, have a good conversation, and see how they feel about everything. The implementation process. So what does weekly check-ins look like? First, you need to have a meeting. You need to have an initial meeting within 2 weeks of hire, and that's not 2 weeks of them getting their first set of skills. It's 2 weeks of hire date, because with us, they get their first set of skills 3 or 4 days after their hire date, or after they come into the workplace for the first time. And then we also need to come up with a meeting length. So how long should this meeting be? What questions, what's the questionnaire going to look like? What should we ask? What should we pinpoint? And then also meeting with the trainer, trainee with concerns. And most of the time too, we want a game plan. So with the trainer, do we want a game plan as far as a deadline for the trainee, or the trainee, do we want a game plan as far as, hey, let's pause your training, or hey, let's focus a little bit more before we sign you off to make sure you completely understand. And then also at the end of that, we need to provide a deadline. So when you give some people, that kind of freedom to, we'll say, choose when, you're kind of giving that freedom to where they can do what they want. And that's not what this is. We want to provide it to where they become comfortable and confident in their own way, but we can't hold it off for too long, because obviously we need this to happen. We need to keep the ball rolling. Effective considerations with environmental and social. Environmental was more of a positive, so it has a greater impact on work culture. What I mean by that is talking to both trainers and trainees, it just allows for an open-mindedness when it comes to leaders. It just shows that we are providing that support and that trust system, especially when it comes to trainers. Those, let's say that somebody I know of for sure that has been with the company for over 5 years. It just shows that what they say, we take into consideration. That's part of our collaboration. We are a team and we're going to grow together. The social consideration is more of a negative, putting the trainee on the spot. So some people don't like to talk to those managers. They don't like to talk to anyone in charge, and I understand that. That's okay. But with that, they are reluctant to speak and they're afraid to say exactly how they feel. But my hope with having these meetings, they'll get more comfortable. So they'll be more open. They'll understand what we are trying to do as a company and know that we're trying to help them out. And that is all I have. So I hope that you guys enjoyed it. And if you have any questions, feel free. Thank you.